Well, it's a new week. Welcome. Welcome in, everybody. Still one away from episode 30, but gonna knock out episode 29, the BSM Podcast. Actually, I did that wrong. I apologize. Let me double check something. This one actually is episode 30. I apologize for that. This is episode 30. The last one I did a couple days ago, episode 29. This is episode 30. We've hit a good milestone, I'd say. I want to do like a couple hundred of these, BSM Podcast, right? What do we talk about? Well, first off, we talk about the fact that the Bucs just won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady had like a torn MCL the whole season, didn't report it. I talked about it the other day, and they could be in some serious trouble. Is it really what are they going to do, though? Like, what is the league going to do to the Bucs for not reporting that Tom Brady had an injury? What are you going to do? Take it away? I don't know. What's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you. Episode 30 of the BSM Podcast. We talk sports and other fun stuff. I see we got my good buddy Between the Trenches. Y'all go sub him up. Fellow Georgia fan. Does a lot of great content. Big Lee, what's going on, buddy? What's up, Nate the Great? And he's not late. And he is Nate Kingston. What's going on, guys? Love y'all. Much love and respect to you. I've had a pretty good day. It's been kind of slow. It has been crappy. And I say that in the sense of rain and weather, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and drop the StreamYard link for you guys. You know how it is on this. We just kind of talk. We hang out. We talk sports, whatever you want to. Podcast style. No camera, just some audio. Let's just hang out, relax, and talk some sports. I'll let you guys on if you want to. It is SEC Media Days week. And I guess Alabama, it's always on Wednesday for Alabama, which I really don't care what day it is, but we got 2 days until that happens. I think we had Dan Mullen in Florida today, Coach Ogeron, and LSU. I just put something out I wanted to do all the SEC coaches, but I kind of got lost, and I just said, okay, 5 SEC coaches that I'm curious to hear from this week, the top 5, and a question that I would ask them. So I want to go ahead and share this with you guys. I'll screen share it, and I did the top 5 coaches I would ask a question to. And what I'm most curious about hearing from these coaches. Number 1 on the list, obviously, Nick Saban. I would love to obviously meet Nick Saban as a Bama fan. But fan aside, the main question I would want to ask Saban this week, right? And trust me, as a fan, there's a lot I want to ask him. What's up, Puffer Billy? You going to get in there, ask Saban a question? Well, I'm talking about that now. He says don't piss him off. This might actually, I don't know. But the question that I have for Saban, how can you get back, right? And I went on, I said it's a redundant question considering it's Nick Saban. We know who we're talking about. But they have to replace a lot. They've had probably the best team that Nick Saban's ever had. And I went on to say this. If you think that they have an easy task ahead, let me remind you, Ole Miss brings a lot back, and they put up 48 on Alabama last season. And if what we are hearing about Matt Corral, the offense, and the weapons coming back is all true, Alabama needs to have defense and watch out for some trap games this year. Now, let me pause there. I do think Alabama could have the defense. But could Lane Kiffin, who's number 2 on my list, why could he have something that's most likely unstoppable this year? There's a lot they have coming back. They don't lose really anything on that offense. They got a solid line. Matt Corral comes back. Snoop Connor at running back. There's a lot that they have coming back for the team. Right? He's number 2 on my list. The question I would have for him, why? No, like, we know it's something serious this year, but why is that? And And I put that we might already know the answer. But I still want to see, and I'm quoting this here, I still want to see Kiffin prove the hype is fair and legitimate. He put up 48 on Bama last year at home, the lowest that they scored at all in any game. This is a team that didn't have, it was great for his first season. It was 10 SEC games, and I guess Ole Miss actually, I think in 10 games, I think they probably went 5-5 or something. I don't know. I'll have to double check, but it doesn't matter. The lowest that they scored in any game was 26 points, and that was against Indiana in the bowl game. So they pretty much averaged between about 26 and 50 points all season long. There's a lack of defense. They probably have one of the worst defenses. Actually, in my opinion, it might be the worst defense in the SEC next season. My opinion. That's not. Look, nothing wrong with that necessarily. Just be glad if you're Ole Miss that you have a competitive offense, you have a quarterback, and that Lane Kiffin is a little bit better than maybe what people expected. You know, like you remember when he was at Tennessee first off, and I do think he can coach a football team, but he came over from freaking FAU. That's a big step from FAU, which he did okay. But then you're asking to go up against Saban, Kirby Smart, Jimbo, which you see those guys listed here. Again, get to them in a second. You're asking a big task of Lane Kiffin, and it seemed like he competed very well last year. He did. So my question to him is, we know it's something serious. We know that there's a lot of hype, but why is that? Why are they serious? I know what that stands for. I'm not a Georgia fan, so I don't say it, but good for you, Trenches. So yeah, Lane Kiffin. You're serious about your offense. You're serious about your quarterback and Matt Corral. You're serious about Snoop Connor running the ball. Could have a couple 100 yards this year. It'll be very talented, but why is that? Big game is going to Tuscaloosa early on. Bama's defense. I think we're gonna find something out. I've been saying it, and I think I'm gonna stick to it. Trenches. Yes, Alabama gave up 48 to Ole Miss, and you can laugh and point fingers all you want to, like, oh, the defense is dead. But I'm not saying this to make excuses. I'm not happy about it. But I really think it's not so much that Bama's defense. Yes, they messed up, obviously, because they gave up 48. But I feel like it's a little bit more on the side of what Lane Kiffin wants to do with the offense at Ole Miss. I really think so. I think it's interesting to look at. I think it's interesting to see. I don't think it was fully on Alabama. Yeah, they had a crappy, especially, I guess, in that first half. But I really think that Lane Kiffin's something to not screw around with. What's up, Nate? And then, that's just something to look at. The next thing, that's Lane Kiffin. Why is Lane Kiffin and his offense something serious? Jimbo Fisher at A&M. Really, I just want to see if he can keep his word on Nick Saban. He basically said, we'll beat him when we see him. You don't have to beat him, but my goodness, if it's another blowout, that's really not going to look good on Jimbo.
No.
What do you think so far, Nate?
I had a question, but I'll answer your question too. Yeah, if like you said, if Jimbo gets blown out was last year or 2 years ago, I'm not sure, but if he gets blown out this year, he's probably gonna be on. I would not say the hot seat, but he's probably gonna get a little bit of attention around the world.
He'll get degraded as the type of coach that people are making him right now. Right. They'll just kind of look at him and be like, "It's not what we expected." But
yeah, that's what I mean by attention. My question is, do you remember the time that Lane Kiffin was at Tennessee, although he didn't really do a good job with it at the program. But my question is, why is he that good now than he wasn't as
I
good?
think it's one of the. You got to remember something, Nate. He was back in 2009, like 08 or whatever with Tennessee. I think the thing is he was really young in coaching at the time, and I'm not saying this because it's Saban, but I just think he needed some time to figure out where he was as not just a head coach, but just a type of football coach in general. And I really think that learning from Nick Saban and Nick Saban giving him the chance at offensive coordinator for a couple years at Alabama back, what are we going, like 14, 15 in 2016, I think. Maybe it was just 15 and 16. But anyway, he took those couple years to figure out, okay, where am I at on being a head coach? Because that's what everyone wants to be. That's what everyone wants to do. They want to, all of these, like, take Kirby Smart. He wanted to ultimately be a head coach. And I'm sure maybe he, this whole time, wanted to be the coach at his alma mater at Georgia, but he knew he had to go learn somewhere. And, in 2007, Saban hires Kirby Smart, builds him up a bit, teaches him, and Kirby's learning, and now he's a defensive guru. So I feel like Lane Kiffin just he took it out and took a chance early, and it didn't work out. And to answer your question, Nate, why is it working out now? He took some time to get it together under Nick Saban, and then you got to remember going to Florida Atlantic. That's a small stepping stone to start out to get back on track at a smaller school. But then he takes that leap at Ole Miss, and it's worked out. So I think it's just one of those.
What's his name? Mullen?
Dan Mullen?
The Florida coach.
Yeah.
Did he go to Florida Atlantic before Florida, or did he?
No, he was the coach at Mississippi State.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because I thought someone looked like what's his name, but like Mullen or whatever. I can't remember his first name, but he there's a guy that was at Florida Atlantic, kind of looked like Coach Mullen from Florida, but I don't know. But it was probably just me.
I might know who you're talking about. I can go back and look.
But
head coaches.
It was the coach that was dancing on the sideline.
Do you remember what year it was?
I think it was 17 or 18 or some, not long ago.
Well, Lane Kiffin was the coach between 17 and 2019. Was it there was a guy, Charlie Partridge, Brian Wright, who was an interim coach for a little while.
It was a coach that, it was plus it was on ESPN, and it's showing a head coach for Atlantic was dancing on the sideline, not really dancing, just galloping or not gallop. I don't know, but it was funny. But I swear it looked like Mullen. So
yeah.
I don't remember what coach. So
is it me, or does Mullen look like a chubby Ron DeSantis look?
Oh my
I think it might be you, Alan. I don't know.
That's kind of harsh.
I'll give him that. That is harsh. Let me ask you, and this was kind of tough for me to make this list. 5 SEC head coaches. It was hard. Obviously, you knock out Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin, Jimbo, Kirby. Those guys I have the most questions for. Dan Mullen, I could go into why you're going to win the East again for the second year, but I don't want to hear that. I mean, it's not going to happen. This is for Georgia this year.
I know. But if you think about it, I know I don't want Florida to win either, but it would be a miracle if
it happened.
Yeah, but I think Georgia will win the East this year. But I was just saying it will take a miracle if Florida wins the East.
Well, the fifth coach, I wanted to do 5, and it
Okay.
just the final one I got here. Shane Beamer at South Carolina, I think, is a very interesting hire. South Carolina is just, why do we even try to give them a chance? And they just disappoint. But I just think the question that I have for Shane Beamer, can you reach a competitive level? Just in general, not even just the SEC, but just, mostly the SEC. You have at Georgia, okay, that's tough. At Missouri in November could be interesting, although I think Missouri's going to be on a good path this year to be second in the East. Kentucky, at Tennessee, at A&M, Auburn. There's, can they have a competitive type of team really this season in the SEC? I don't know. It's not non-con. It's pretty favorable outside of the Palmetto Bowl with Clemson, but you have Auburn from the other division. You have A&M.
Mm-hmm. They have like East Carolina. Could be a good game, although
that could be good. Yeah.
Troy's a blowout. Eastern Illinois is blowout. So that's 3 wins.
I think they definitely could blow out Vandy. Come on, it's Vandy, but it's just Shane Beamer's got something he could prove this year. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he can prove that he could win the Eastern, but if they could get a good 7-5 type of record and make a bowl game, how impressive would that be for Shane Beamer in the Gamecocks?
Yeah, I hate to say it though, but I think people hate to hear this, but I'm not saying it will happen. But actually, I'm not predicting that South Carolina to win, but it would be impressive and shocking if South Carolina pulls off a win against Clemson.
It would be that. Obviously, we know that's their toughest game, but I think of all of these, now let me ask you this.
All right.
I'm going to give you these teams. Forget Georgia and Clemson. Obviously, they're 2 toughest games. Let's take those 2 out of the picture. Let's take the first 2 games out of the picture. First off, let's just focus on the SEC. I'm going to name. We're practically taking out half of this. Vandy is down. Maybe that's a close win just because of where South Carolina's at. And it's an SEC East team. But I'll give you at Tennessee, I'll give you Kentucky, I'll give you Auburn, at Missouri, and I'll give you Florida. And I'll give you at A&M. Of those that I just mentioned, if you had to bet, how do I want to put this? Man. All right. If you have to make a bet that they're gonna lose no more than 2 of those games,
right?
Which 2 teams do you think they lose to, and they beat the rest of them?
Either Vandy or what option did you say?
I'm talking SEC wise.
Okay.
Take the non-con and Georgia and Clemson out. Then you focus in on the rest of their SEC schedule. You have Kentucky, Tennessee, Vandy, A&M, Florida, and Missouri, and Auburn.
Yes, Vandy. Maybe Florida if South Carolina is competitive that game, but I think Auburn will lose to South Carolina this year if they do.
Okay. I think obviously, I don't know. It's tough between. It just depends on Florida, really, and Auburn.
Right.
But I think obviously of those games that I mentioned, again taking out Clemson and Georgia, A&M, and then I mean, even Florida, I think, is just
Yeah.
tough. But South Carolina used to be. I
A
mean,
really
they were
good
good
team.
a decade ago. They were beating teams like Alabama and pulling
Yeah,
upsets.
and
They
plus
were good,
they beat my Wolverines in the Citrus Bowl or something like that.
right? But like the only question that I had, number 5 on my list on the, and I'll put the I'll put the link to this if you guys want to go back and read it on the website. But I just want to know if Shane Beamer, you don't have to just in general, really in the SEC, can he reach a competitive level? Can Shane Beamer have a good first year? And honestly, I think he could. I just don't know if he will. And I think it's a very interesting hire. And maybe you give them a couple years and then you say, you know what, they might go 7-5, 8-4. But there's just been, I mean, Will Muschamp just did not.
That was
It was not
bad.
a good hire from the start. I am sorry.
If he would have been defensive coordinator, that would be a whole different story.
Yeah. Trenches says they're not beating Missouri, Kentucky, Auburn, or A&M. No, I would agree with that. I was just, obviously pointing these out. If you had to make a bet that they at least get one of them.
Yeah.
South Carolina is just one of those teams. They're just hard to figure out, and we don't know what they're going to do. Right. We can only guess and just see what happens. So, I mean,
and plus they can play. They can play physical too.
They can. They're not the best at recruiting, but they can have some good defense, and they can just have some good players.
Yeah, I think in 2011 or 2012, they actually played by Wolverines, and with that big hit,
I remember that. Yeah. Was that who was it? Clowney? Was it Jadeveon Clowney?
Yeah, I think so.
See, they've had some good players. They had a receiver a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember what team he's on. I'll have to look. Deebo Samuel was really good at South Carolina. I mean, you can't tell me they don't have players and they can't recruit. By the way, Deebo Samuel's with the 49ers. But I mean, you can't sit there and say South Carolina ain't never had a football team. They can't look. They can compete. They've shown that they can. The question is that can it be done this year? I don't know.
Yeah, probably not this year, but I would say maybe in the next 2 or 3 years they can be competitive. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Trenches says, Ballard, I'll bet you $100 the Cox don't get bowl eligible. Well, I'm not saying that they are going to be. Honestly, I could see maybe a 5-7 or 3. I mean, that's a tough task, man. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying, like, obviously with the hire of Shane Beamer, the whole goal is to get back to that. I just don't know how long it's going to take. So we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But I don't know. It's just going to be interesting. We'll just have to wait and see what Shane Beamer has up his sleeve in year 1 with the Gamecocks. But
I actually thought that the last name was Boomer.
But Shane Boomer, that would be kind of funny.
Yeah, but all those Beamer, I love Beamer over Boomer because it sounds cool. But sorry for the last name, whatever it is. But I just want to tell you that. But
what games, LW? I mean, I'll probably take a guess and say it's probably the non-con games with Troy, East Carolina, and Eastern Illinois. Let me ask you this. I mean, it is tough. Is it possible they go winless in the SEC this year? Do they drop? Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe Vandy's their best bet, and they only have one game.
Or
Tennessee,
maybe.
Tennessee, too. Tennessee could beat South Carolina. I mean, I don't know, man. This is going to – it kills me. it really kills me that, obviously as a Bama fan, I love seeing Bama there. I know we got teams like A&M, but I mean, it's just for what we make the SEC to be as a tough conference, which it is, there's always those South Carolina and Tennessee type teams where you look at them and say, look, here's where they're going to screw up instead of here's where they're going to do great. You just you throw them under the bus because it's just fallen. Like they were again, I mentioned like they were good back almost a decade ago. They were competing a little bit, not like national title wise, but I mean they had some good teams. Remember Steve Spurrier was the coach. I mean they haven't been like South Carolina. Are they a dead program now? They're limping.
They're on the board, maybe.
They are, but they haven't always been this down. So, and Trenches makes a good question. Which program is deader, Tennessee or South Carolina?
Tennessee. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd probably say Tennessee, but I mean, it's like right there. I mean, South Carolina is, yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Purdue, I heard it was Cal. Oh, Trenches wears Purdue jerseys. USC juniors second in the East with 2 losses. That is the hottest take of the offseason that I've heard. Probably the highest.
Carolina, but I doubt that.
Yeah, hell no. I mean, they're not. You're going to have teams ahead of them. I think Vandy finishes dead last. I could see South Carolina. Could you see them finishing above Tennessee? I could. But I still think, as far as South Carolina goes, you'll have, obviously, Georgia at the top of the East. Mm-hmm. Missouri could be second. I think Kentucky and Florida, I think at least, okay, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Missouri, those teams finish above South Carolina.
Right.
At least those 4 go above South Carolina. They can finish 5th or 6th. And you could close it out with the 3 remaining teams because, 7 in each division. I just named 4. And then 5 is South Carolina. And then you have Tennessee and then Vandy. I mean, something like that. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway. But I do like the Shane Beamer hire, but I never liked the Will Muschamp hire. No. And I just think he made things worse on South Carolina. I mean, it was already getting kind of rough when he got there. And I just think he made things worse. I think he had like a 3-9 season, like his final year or something. And this is a team that beat Georgia in 2019. And man, it just amazes me. Like all the team, and I know it takes time for teams to die off, but I mean, South Carolina used to be one of the top SEC teams years ago. Not like one of the top, but I mean, they were a bit more competitive, and now they've just taken a tumble downhill in a way that's just, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but rest in peace, South Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. You think? I don't know.
We lost Nate. He said, "Do you think?" And I didn't hear what he said after that. I don't know. Anyone wants to join in, everyone's welcome on here. I love you guys. I mean it. Y'all come on here. Let's just talk. 30th episode. That's a good milestone, 30. That's good. Did anyone watch last night's WWE Monday Night Raw? How about John Cena makes a return to Money in the Bank when Roman Reigns is in there and John Cena just outright comes in? I mean, wow. Hey, Hupper Billy, and I guess this is Striker. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey,
What's up?
so Ballard, this is something that's I was on Hurricane T2Y.
Okay.
You were on there for a little while. You came in
The
late.
other day, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a really good conversation. I have to say the guys were very honest or genuine about what they thought. They were objective, I should say.
Okay.
For the most part. I mean, there's some Homer stuff in there, but at the same, I'm talking to folks now at Ohio State and in Georgia.
Yeah.
And they, if you would think that Clemson is dead, I mean, like because of the OSU loss and the way we lost.
Are people saying that?
No, these people are. I mean, some people are in these fan bases, man. And I sit there.
It baffles you, don't it?
Oh, it just makes you go, "What the hell?"
Right. That's funny. What's up, Jeff? And of course, we have Striker. That's what's hilarious, and that's like what happens with Alabama. Anytime Bama takes an Iron Bowl loss or takes a loss to like LSU, I mean, it's like anytime, like God forbid Saban loses a game because now the dynasty's falling apart. What's wrong with Saban? He just lost a game.
Yep.
I mean, God forbid that. You can't win them all. Deal with it. Clemson lost to Ohio State. That doesn't mean that they suck. That doesn't mean they're a bad program. And guess what? They're going to have probably the best returning quarterback this season in DJ. At least, and I say returning because he played last year.
Yeah,
in some meaningful time.
But the end of the world is coming. I mean, according to these cats, and I just at some point you go, you can believe it. You can delusional yourself. I don't think I actually think Clemson has two key weaknesses, and I admit it. I mean, good Lord, no team's 100% perfect. Well, Alabama,
right?
But no, most teams have some weakness. But man, you think they're like, no, Georgia just got way better talent than Clemson. There's no way Clemson wouldn't even be on the field. I'm like, oh my God, these people are.
And that okay, so look, teams can have better talent than Clemson on some years. That doesn't mean that Clemson's bad. You know what I'm saying?
I get it, man. I get it. But anyway, I just bring it up. I thought I'd start that comment, but I can talk about, like I was talking about Florida State, and I actually think Florida State's going to be much better this year. They quit taking on water this past year, and now they're on the rebuild man. And so I look at them, and I'm thinking, guys, I don't think they're going to rock everybody's world or anything.
Right.
That Notre Dame game is going to be closer than they think, than the pundits think. Why?
Yeah. What's up, Jeff?
Hey, Jada.
To me, Florida State is like Texas. It's like Michigan.
I know where this is going.
It's one of those schools where they just need to get right for 1 or 2 years, and then they can get fired back up again to where they were.
You know how Lou?
They're not. I'm not saying they're right on the cusp right now, but 2 years, 3 years in a row, things go right. They start getting their recruiting back.
Yep.
These are traditional programs in states with they've got nationwide recruiting bases. So, it's not something like you're not trying to make a sudden national powerhouse out of Iowa State.
Oh no.
It's a lot easier to do that in Tallahassee than it is in Ames.
Yeah.
Well, you just named a few teams that, and I don't know. I know you watch Lou a little bit, J-Dub, but you guys know how he'll do He has his worst of the worst playoffs that he does every year, but you just named a few teams that he has in like his disappointment playoffs. It's like we expect them to do something and they do worse than we expect them to. It's like they don't quite hit where they should be. Like where their ceiling is set, they're not quite hitting it. Yeah. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, but what I would, JW, I agree with you 1,000%, and it's so. Florida State's in a lucky situation. They're by the way, their recruiting hasn't been bad.
No, and they've done very well in the transfer portal.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
And so I look at them as one of these. If the coaching really proves itself this year, okay, they just don't do stupid. They did some stupid stuff last year. They don't do that again, and they actually show some progress. It's going to get good in a hurry. They're going to light up quick. So that's why I was talking to the T2I.
The facilities are there. The alumni support is there. Mm-hmm. The cash is there.
Yep.
The in-state recruiting is there. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't take too long or too difficult to put a little shine on out-of-state national recruiting. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they're right now, they're like I'm not saying they're a giant that's asleep, but they're a troll that's asleep, and you just as soon not wake them up.
Yep. Yeah, it's coming. But I always like to look at these teams that have lost their luster, and now they're on their way back. And I think they're one.
Right.
I don't know that Miami's kind of further in the progression than they are on this front. We'll see this year. They better not fall back. I think some people will slit a wrist if they do. But yeah. So there are a few of them out there. You guys were talking about South Carolina earlier, right, with Nate? And South Carolina, they're further along than Tennessee for sure. But they still are going to take probably 3 years before they'll get their act together easily. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. So, but there's some good schools out here.
See, you look at schools. You look at Miami, Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
What they're surrounded by as far as in-state recruiting, okay? Then you look at USC sitting there in Southern California with all that talent around.
Hell yeah.
Texas and Texas A&M with all that talent around. I mean, that's like they're the schools that, if they string one or two together, they can get right back in the argument.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But you know what the problem is?
But Tennessee,
you have
the problem
and
that
Bama
Tennessee
going
has is Tennessee's in big trouble because they lost 25 players to the. I mean, they've got numbers problem, and a numbers problem is something that won't solve itself for 3 or 4 years.
You mentioned J-Dub just now. You were mentioning USC over in California, obviously. And
I've been worried about USC for 5 years, and they haven't lived up to what I thought.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, though. Think of where all the big recruits come out of: California, Texas, and Florida. Who's taking those recruits 9 times out of 10? Georgia, Bama, Clemson. The thing is, like USC and Texas, I mean, they're literally letting our teams, I'm saying our team, we got Hufferbilly in here, and then, of course, you and I are Bama fans, and then Strikers are Georgia fans. So our teams are literally going over to their own house to Texas, and where all these big-time recruits are, and we're just walking in and taking them.
Oklahoma.
And what are they doing to
Oklahoma's doing it, too, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Ohio State's done it a little bit, I think. I mean, literally, like you have A&M, Texas, USC. You literally are. It's in your tools that you need to take the next step and build your program are literally right there in your backyard. But you say, "Hey, what's up, Bama? What's up, Georgia? What's up, Clemson? Come on over."
Look. Here's what Saban's done.
Right.
He goes into Austin, Texas. Into Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And
it
takes the 2 nationally rated sons of a Texas alumni to build his offensive line.
Woo!
He goes into
Roll down Tide.
Yeah,
Goes into Norman, Oklahoma, and takes Josh Jacobs.
I remember
He
that.
goes,
Yep.
he goes 10 miles from Baton Rouge and takes Devontae Smith.
Remember, he went into Texas and got Jalen. He got Jalen Hurts at a interview.
He goes down to Florida,
Yep.
and in the class of 2020, takes the number 1, number 2, and number 3 receivers in the entire state.
But
Yes.
but you know why? You know why? Because he's selling their future.
Right.
And they know
Yes.
that. And he's proven that he can get them there. And Lincoln Riley's getting close.
He's working on it.
Yeah, Lincoln's getting real close to doing similar, shtick.
Well, that's because Saban can say, I've had 9 more first-round draft choices than losses in my time in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
Exactly.
The numbers
you hear it
don't
every
lie.
year.
The numbers don't lie, and that's it. And that's good for him. Everybody gets all mad. Oh, saving this. They call him Satan and all that good stuff. That's because they can't be him. You can't. You hate the man because you can't be the man.
Right.
Oh my God! If I wasn't I've said it 1,000 times. If I wasn't an Alabama alum, I'd have Alabama up on the cross. I'd hate those son of a bitches like nobody.
I don't hate greatness, man. I don't hate greatness.
I'd respect them. I obviously would give respect and credit to where it's due.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be loving it at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't go down the road and pray. I don't worship the man, but every time I see what he does, I just go, hey, more power to him, brother.
See, this is the thing. This is the argument that Alabama's cheating. They're paying their players.
Oh God.
What?
Yes.
Now, they don't need. Look, they don't need to. Chris Fowler is the one that said it. He said Saban around 2013, 2014, after he'd won in 9 and then won in 11 and 12. And of course, they didn't do anything in 13 or 14, but they won it in 15.
Yeah.
Right.
It was somewhere in that ballpark, somewhere around 2015, where and Fowler and Herbstreit were talking.
Yeah.
And Herbstreit says this train isn't stopping soon because Saban has stopped recruiting and he started selecting.
There you go.
That's truth.
Oh, and this whole, you mentioned like buying players a little bit. Bama and Clemson and Georgia, they recruit.
They're not buying players.
I know. That's what I'm trying to get at. Oh, Bama gets all the recruits. Put the cash out or do that. They're too good for that.
No,
Tennessee has to go to McDonald's, buy a Big Mac, use the bag, and put cash in it because they can't do any of that.
Look,
Dabo
Sweeney is sitting in your living room, shining your mom and dad up,
right,
and talking to you about coming to Clemson. You ain't going to ask him, well, Coach, can I get $500 a month? You're sitting there going, holy shit, Clemson wants me to come to play for them.
Hey, Dabo, you got a whole trophy for me? And Dabo's going to tell you, yeah.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You want me to come to Athens and be part of the team that knocks off Saban and restores our glory? Yep. I mean, come on, that sells itself, man.
Right.
Yes, it does. But I was listening to Josh on I forget. I think is it 24/7? I don't think it's 24/7. Maybe it is. But Josh is on there a lot, and he's the key announcer for him. And he was saying number 1 is Saban without any doubt, right?
Right.
But number 2 is Ryan Day for your next 5 years. He said if I was going to pick a coach, he'd be Ryan Day. And I
saw that.
I think I threw up in my mouth, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me."
I get Ohio State's a great program, right? They're a top tier type of program. We get what they can do, but let's slow down. They're gonna have they've lost quite a bit. They have some stuff coming back next year.
Yeah.
But I mean,
good Lord,
Ryan Day. I'm not doubting him. But last year's Ohio State team was all Justin Fields. It was not the coach. I'm sorry.
They had a generational quarterback. They had a Trevor Lawrence equivalent. And listen, they're going to have to do that now. And doesn't mean they can't, but there's a lot of people stepping up. Oklahoma's stepping up. Alabama has been stepped up. Clemson ain't going anywhere. Okay, Georgia's coming. So hey, Ohio State, you better get you another Justin Fields in a hurry. Is all I'm going to say.
I'll say Miami's not bad in recruiting either. The problem is they can't. They're just not quite at the level of Clemson to take the next step in the ACC. That's their issue. That's their road blockage. You look at Miami. They recruit. I follow quite a few channels that cover Miami, especially on Mark Rogers' side with all the people he talks to, and man, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You look at Miami, look, there are programs out there not named Clemson, not named Georgia, not named Alabama or Oklahoma. I mean, there are programs out there that know how to recruit. The problem is they're not recruiting at the level of the top guys at the cream of the crop of the college football world. They're just not there, and they need to work on getting there.
Yeah. And then they got to develop them when they recruit them. So
exactly.
I was going to ask you, USC Junior, your outfit you have for your icon or your thing, your symbol. What's the top? What's your hat on the top? What
is that? The Cardinals? That's BVD right there.
Yeah, it's
is it?
He's Cardinals fan for his NFL team.
I couldn't even tell if it's BVD because it's on my screen. It's just too small. But I saw the Tennessee and I was wondering what the red hat was. But it is the Cardinals. Okay, I got you, man. All right.
Yeah. That's just a BVD.
Yeah.
Ohio State is uniquely positioned, much like Oregon, much like USC if they ever got it going again, and to a certain extent like Oklahoma. But I think it really applies to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And that what they are is the counter.
Okay.
They're the yin to the yang, the pepper to the salt, the chocolate to the vanilla. Okay. You don't want to go south. You want to be somewhere else. You don't want to be surrounded by everybody else. You want to be not like you're not on the outside, but you're away from everybody else. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're a kid a Midwest kid that's good enough to go play anywhere, but wants to stay in the Midwest. Ohio State's his top choice.
Right.
So they've got that unique, where they're not Alabama, LSU, and Georgia all fighting in the same swimming pool.
Right. Because there's always those top
and or Oregon, Mario Cristobal can talk about staying out here on the coast,
Yeah.
Your mom and dad, what are they going to do? Are they going to fly to Athens 6 weeks out of the year? They can't afford to do that. You need to come here to Eugene. A lot of that does come into play. Listen, I talk to players all the time. Players are always thinking about their parents. How can my parents get to the game? Distance from home matters a lot to these kids.
Yes, it does.
Unless you're talking about the 5 stars who are thinking about the next level all the time.
Right. I mean, I'll even
90% of these kids are thinking about their family and geography.
Well, let me give you an example with Tua Tagovailoa. He's from Ewa Beach, Hawaii. You know how far that is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama? Now, granted, his whole family did move with him. But, imagine, even if they didn't, it's like, I'm sure, obviously, he still has, relatives over in Hawaii that I'm sure he's pretty close to. Think about that. He was that talented, that highly recruited and sought after. Almost went to USC, actually, but obviously Alabama and Nick Saban got him. So he was, you talk about recruits, and it's always great when they pick a school to stay close to home. But the big-time recruits like that, or even Trevor Lawrence, which I know he's from Georgia, it's not, it's not like it's on the other side. It's still in the
DJ
side.
DJ.
Well, yeah, DJ wasn't he's from all the way in California. Take that. He's that talented. Well, he's so talented to the point, and even Bryce Young. There's so many we could look at. Bryce Young from California, but they're that good and talented. They're going to the top tier programs, no matter how far out in the country they got to go.
Well, we're about to get. By the way, I just read you in when you see this hit the news wire in the next few days or week.
Okay,
we're about to get one of the top linebackers from. He's in Hawaii, so he's coming. to Clemson.
Oh, is there one going to Clemson?
Yeah,
Who is
see
it?
what? Oh God, I can't remember his name, but I was reading about him yesterday, and they were like, "Oh my God, they can't believe that they're going to get a Hawaii person to come over." And Dallas said, "Look, everybody wants to be a winner."
Oh, they just Clemson offered him a couple
Yeah.
days ago. I see it here.
Yeah.
Tall-
They know when they offer.
Yeah.
They already know, and that's one of the reasons why they offer. Typically, that's why they offer. Now, some people they offer out of respect, like they're going to offer the Manning quarterback just because of respect.
Vasily
Yeah.
Akana.
Mhm.
I hope I didn't butcher his name.
But yeah, it's interesting to watch how the recruiting. Well, people in Hawaii know they're going to come to the mainland to be, on some team. But you think they'd go to California, UCLA,
that being the closest to them, they go to, especially like you mentioned, USC or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah,
like come on. But that's why USC is losing out right now. They've got to get that. Just like Florida, they've got to get that fixed. I don't know what in Texas. Jeez, I think Texas is on its way. I mean, I think the Sarkisian is going to take them fine, and I think Texas.
Oh yeah, I think Sarkisian definitely got what he needed these past couple years, being under Nick Saban, learning about a program, learning about building offense, and I said this the other day. I think I made a video and talked about Texas, and I just think it sets up. It's going to take him a few years, but I do think he can eventually be winning the Big 12. Mm-hmm. And he's an offensive guru. We saw what he worked with Mac Jones last year.
Yep.
No disrespect to Mac Jones, but I will admit maybe he is systematic. We're going to find out. Well, actually, I mean, he's going under Belichick. So either way, look, he's going to succeed. But anyway, back to Sarkisian. He's an offensive talented guru. And he's going to an offensive league, and he's in the state of Texas. You don't think that sets up for success, even if it takes him 3 or 4 years or whatever to get back.
It won't take him that long.
It'll take him 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, and I think he's winning the Big Ten, and I think he's overtaking Oklahoma, and maybe you see him in the playoffs, especially with the expansion coming up.
Yeah, that's why I look at these things and go, God, it's going to get really good here in a hurry. Even Southern Cal's coming back, right? I mean,
Clay Helton's doing something.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's not bad.
Unfortunately for Lou, he bet against him.
Oh my God!
Shit. But the other thing, what is Gus? If let's say Gus goes to UCF, right? And he has 2 fabulous years. Where's he going next?
I don't know. I mean, this is I think Gus Malzahn. I think he can coach at a school like that. He didn't do too bad at Auburn. He had a couple good seasons where he won the West. So it's not like he did terrible, but it was just the inconsistency.
Yeah.
And especially if you people need to remember this. He was the offensive coordinator in 2010 when Auburn won a title. He was the offensive coordinator in 2011 and 2012. Gene Chiswick's out the door. 2013, his first year as a head coach, it took some miracle plays, sure, but it got done, and he led them to the BCS championship. They lost to Florida State, sure, and maybe didn't do as much since then, but I mean, he was still, the whole goal was, can we get a guy that can beat Georgia and beat Alabama? Did Gus Malzahn do that? Quite a few times, actually. Yes, he did. And you got to give him credit on that point. So I think he can coach. And is UCF a downgrade from an SEC team like Auburn?
Of course.
Sure. But it's not bad. And if UCF, I mean, look, I say this. If you could get ranked in the top 25, somehow by some miracle, if you do good enough, the playoff committee could put you in, right? Like UCF was like the only undefeated team in 2017. You think they wouldn't have put – I mean, thank God they didn't because, I mean, you want to talk about blowouts in the playoffs every year. It definitely would have happened right then and there with like Clemson or whoever. But look – I'm getting off track a little bit, but like coaches, I mean, Gus Malzahn, I think, could do something. Focus in on bowl games, really, for UCF.
Yeah.
I think Gus Malzahn could do something like that.
I actually asked the question because I'm thinking ahead of where he could go if
Right.
he resurrects himself or comes back from the dead, if you will, because he was a demotion, no doubt.
Like after his UFC tenure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is that if someone like, let's just say Norvell fails for whatever reason, he might end up at Florida State. That was my point.
Gus
I don't know
could?
if he'll follow Mullen either at Florida. He could.
That would be very interesting, actually.
Yep.
Like, you mentioned if Mike Norvell can't get it done at Florida State, they're still banging their head against the wall trying to get it taken care of.
Yeah.
Malzahn at FSU in a few years would be very intriguing.
Yep. Just something to watch. Not
Yeah.
necessarily he has
Not right away,
Yeah.
but give it a few years. Like, I think we need to look at this, especially at Florida State. What are they looking at like 5 years down the road with Mike Norvell, if he's even going to last that long, which
Just
honestly, I think it's going in a good direction that it could.
I think he's a good coach.
I do too. And I think, I'll tell you what, too. Speaking of Florida State and UCF, Mackenzie Milton's looking pretty good this spring.
But
The quarterback.
What's going to happen to Florida when Mullen decides he's going to go to the NFL? Malzahn?
What are they
I don't
going to
know.
do? Hey, they got to mess with Dan Mullen's recruits this year. You realize that?
Yeah.
He's not. He himself is not doing all that great.
Yeah.
We
that's
talked
why-
about going out of state for recruiting. Look, he's letting Georgia and Alabama take those guys out of Florida behind their back.
Yeah. But that's why I mentioned it about
Yeah.
Gus at UCF, because I think he just put himself in the ecosystem to marinate for a little while and then pop up. Yeah. It's all good stuff. I love these things. I mean, I love watching college football. I don't care. It doesn't have to be about Clemson. I'm just,
Same, man.
My biggest problem with watching Clemson is it just stresses the hell out of me. I don't.
Oh, because if it's not like exactly what you hope for in a game,
Yeah,
I'm sure that North Carolina game a couple years ago got your
it
nerve.
killed me. I think I dropped 3 or 4 years off my life experience.
Oh, hey, that I will say that did kind of make a statement and put Mac Brown and
Yes,
that
sir.
program on the map, and they're a team we need to look out for this
Well,
year.
I look at them as actually, if they beat us this year, I will not be surprised. It will not. I'm worried like hell. I really am. I think they're better than people want to give them credit for. They're getting the consistency down. Mac's a good coach.
Mac Brown.
Yeah.
You need to watch for Mac Brown and UNC, and I think, and if it's close week one, not necessarily they don't have to win it, but let's say Miami plays Bama close, they run the table. Let's say they beat North Carolina, they practically win the Coastal. I'd be on watch for Miami this year too, man.
Oh no, I'm looking at them. Don't get me wrong. I think they got some. What I feel bad about is their coach. Manny's going to have to get a little more. Edge to him, a little more meanness to him. Not to the players. I'm saying he's going to have to instill in those players that, hey man, don't leave any prisoners. Get out on that field and ram it home. And that's Miami's culture. That's her background, right? And he needs to cultivate it back to where it was, and it'll start to go a different direction in a hurry once they get that bravado back. But they have to deliver. And it's going to be interesting. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, Miami and North Carolina against one another. Holy crap! That's going to be a great game.
Yeah, it will be.
It's almost better than Clemson, Georgia.
Fireball is saying Mac Brown's one of the best coaches out there. I would agree. And
I agree too.
Hey, when he was at Texas and then he took a couple years off, he's been at UNC for what? Has it been like 3 or 4 years, 2 years, whatever? It's only been a few years at North Carolina, and it's amazing what he's done. I mean, a few years ago, if it was like 2014, 2013, was anyone even talking about the Tar Heels? I wasn't.
Shoot, no, they were dead in the gutter. They're
Deader
worse than
than a
South-
doornail.
Yeah, they're worse than South Carolina now.
The Battle of the Carolinas. Who can be worse?
The Pirates beat both of them. East Carolina.
East Carolina, yeah.
It was horrible. Yeah. So no, he's you know, and I don't know if people know this history. Mac Brown was at North Carolina before he went to Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. When Clemson won the national championship, Mac Brown was coaching North Carolina. We won that game by 2 points. It was a single-digit game. I think it was 9-7 or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre. And then we went on and won the national championship. North Carolina was our nemesis back then. I was living that.
They were in the way, right?
Yeah. And they scared the and we got by them. Then we went over to Japan and played Wake Forest, which I don't know why we send teams 7,000 miles away to go play a game, but we did. We beat them 72 to or 70 something. I don't know if it's 2, but it's 70 something to like 10.
Yeah.
Which everybody's like, holy crap. And then it just rolled from there. Beating Georgia the first game of the year and all that stuff helped. And Georgia was another close one. I think it was within single digits, a field goal.
Yeah, you guys played them a few years ago. 2014, was it?
Yeah. Yep. So I get Mac Brown, man, and he went to Texas, and I was like, thank you, God, get out of my hair on the ACC, and now he's back. I'm like, damn, he's good though. God.
Yeah,
give him credit. But that being said, I just love watching these teams come up and get better. And
absolutely,
we're gonna see BC this year is going to be another one. And nobody's
giving that team enough love. I've heard it quite a bit, actually.
It's coming
about Boston College. Now, again, these teams, I think, have, and I'm going to use this lightly, that these ACC teams we're talking about, Miami, you mentioned Boston College, Florida State with Mike Norvell and Mackenzie Milton at quarterback this year could be good.
Yep.
I still think they're a long way off from being Clemson's level. But that doesn't mean that they're far from competing.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean they're far off from being able to compete,
And on any given day, when you're that good to compete, you could win.
Yeah.
Syracuse proved that against Clemson. Pittsburgh proved it. When you're close enough, lightning can strike, and you can make a major statement win. And that's the thing that worries me from a Clemson fan perspective. But at the same time, I'd rather have that than the ho-hum, boring-ass, Georgia Tech beat down. That doesn't do anything for me. I just hate that. It just bores me to death. And it makes me a little disgruntled that the other teams aren't playing. They're not competing. That doesn't – it's like Bama. Bama could go into Vandy and just bludgeon the hell out of them.
Like 80-0, yeah.
Yeah, who in the hell wants to watch that?
Right.
It's just a boring game.
I'm watching it because I'm an Alabama fan, and even if I wasn't, I'm just going to be straight. I love football in general, just seeing the ball fly through the air, seeing a touchdown. I don't care who the teams are. I'm watching these guys get at it on the field. But I get the point that you're saying. I mean, there's
How do you measure your team against a team that's like you're a hot knife and they're butter? How do you measure your team's ability?
It's not fair.
No, it's just not good. And you go, and that's what happens with Clemson. They go through this soft-ass schedule, and then they get the hard teams. And it's still on steel to get ready for the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah. It frustrates me. I get mad at those teams for not doing their job. I'm like, come on, man. You got to do better.
So I want to hear from you as a Clemson fan. What is it that, and obviously I know they're a better program right now. They got the better coach, but truly on a players and talent standpoint this year, what is it that they have that Georgia probably doesn't have that Clemson's going to get it done week 1?
So Georgia has put a lot of confidence and faith in a second string quarterback they got in the transfer portal.
Right.
And he's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. He's serviceable. I get that. And that may be all they need. At the end of the day, you don't have to have a phenomenal quarterback. You just have a pretty good one, a really good one actually. And he's good. But I don't think he's mobile enough to outlast our D. I think our D line is disruptive as hell this year. It's going to rival 2018.
Okay.
Okay. No, it is true. I mean, I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be a homer here.
I got you.
Brzez's really. I mean, Niles Murphy and
I'm worried
Henry.
about that Brian Brinkley guy,
Yeah.
Brzee or whatever.
Yeah, Brzee. He's a freaking wrecking ball. But nonetheless, I think that's going to be one area to watch because everybody doesn't realize, Clemson has O-line problems.
Yeah.
But the Clemson D-line, it's going to be ugly. The part of Clemson's D that's going to be a suspect for us is going to be the D-backs.
Secondary, yeah.
Yep, because they're good if you don't lose anybody. But you lose one guy, and it gets thin in a hurry. And you know how this works. Every game, somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Or at least for that game, if not for multiple games. So my fear is that's where the vulnerability is. That's why the D-line has to be disruptive. If he's got more than 2 seconds to throw, and our D-backs are left out on an island and we have an injury, that'll tell the tale. Actually, on Georgia's being able to score on us. If that doesn't happen, then Clemson holds. They're holding that edge there. On the offensive side, we have to show that we've improved on our line because obviously last year we sucked. We couldn't open any holes for running, and we don't have the gift of ETN to be creative and magical, right?
Do you guys have is Justin Ross coming back this year, right?
Yeah. So
he was there all last year.
Yeah. So we're going to get there. I mean, on the receiver side, but my issue is the offensive line has to be more than a pass block line. We can't be one-dimensional against Georgia. We have to be able to run the ball, and if we don't get that problem solved, then that's another. So I think we have more. I feel like we have more questions and answers than Georgia does. Maybe that's because I'm a negative Nancy. I always feel that way about my team. But that would be another thing to look at. But if we get it done, the wide receivers and even the running backs, if they're given a little bit of a hole, it's going to be lights out. Good night, Sadie. Georgia will be shocked. They will be shocked. But you've got to have that. The wide receivers are off the charts, man. Justin, Ladson, Nagata. We've got 2 Collins boys. We've got Williams. There's some. And Aju. I mean, their talent is crazy good in the offensive backfield. It's just the line has to do its job. And if it does not, and DJ's great. He's much better than JT, which people in Georgia won't admit it. So they'll have to see it. They say, "Oh, he's not."
I haven't been. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hype. When you look at Bama, you look at Bryce Young. There's hype for that. The only reason I don't think it's going to be what it was last year. I think it'll be great, and maybe I'm underestimating it. I don't know, but I don't know if you saw Bama's spring game this year. They had some receivers out there doing pretty good. Ajay Hall is a guy you need to look at. Yeah. Cameron Latu was a good tight end. Trayshawn Holder. I mean, these are young. Nobody knows who they are, guys.
Yep.
That could break out this year. Now, a spring game is a spring game. It really doesn't do much. But maybe, and obviously, I think we'll be winning these games. We have some, Ole Miss and A&M early on, but halfway through the season, it won't be what it was last year. But you'll definitely look at it and be like, you know what? Yeah, Alabama's still got that explosiveness in them. Yep. And it's just going to take those guys a couple Like, these are freshmen and sophomores, so they'll be there for a little while, so it's going to take some time, but eventually it'll get back to being like, this is a unstoppable type of offense. I just don't know if we're going to have that this year, at least right away.
Yeah, it's Fireball's right. I mean, there's some things in the future here for our both of our conferences. I think our lowest teams are probably the ones that need some serious help.
Yeah.
Like Vandy and Wake Forest and Duke. I mean, Jesus God Almighty.
Yeah.
I almost wish we could jettison them, but yeah, I was thinking the other day, what is going to really be a game changer for Clemson? We're changing our offense, by the way. I don't think anybody's realizing
like the style.
Yeah, no, our emphasis, what we're emphasizing.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's a complete style change, but it's an emphasis change. So we're gonna emphasize the tight ends this year.
Oh, there you go.
That's going to be. We got 3 great tight ends. One of them was the one that was juiced up, and back in
tater juice.
Yeah, tater juice. But he's a Braden Galloway is a really good tight end.
I like Galloway. I think he's really good.
Yeah, and so it's going to come down to, does Clemson mix it up enough? They're not predictable on offense, and the offensive line doing its job. And I think the rest of it will take care of itself. I even think the D line is going to be so crazy good and just disruptive that even the D backs they'll survive fine. But boy, if your offensive line doesn't get you where you need to be, it will be a long night. We'll still be close,
right?
But it shouldn't be close. That's the problem. And that if it's close, it means Clemson's in trouble. It shouldn't have to be close. And I try to point that out. I sit there and I watch a game, and after the second quarter, I'm like, we're not going to win. And usually I'm right. I know. Mm-hmm. I knew it in the Ohio State game. I said, we're toast. I didn't know in the LSU game, though, the national championship game with them. We got into the halftime, and I said, well, there's a couple things. If we just make the right adjustments, we'll be fine.
Right.
And then we came out in the third quarter and got our ass handed to us. And
I was honestly, before you brought that up, I was thinking about that LSU game. I don't know what brought it to mind, but all I was thinking about was, Clemson, they've had great teams and all that. And I just there was a part of me that was thinking about let's just be honest. No one was stopping LSU's offense.
No, they were going to win regardless.
Now, the problem was, though, it was more so, it wasn't on necessarily Clemson's defense in that game.
No.
But I think it was more so Trevor Lawrence. He looked. He froze up a bit. He got a little nervous, and you're just going to have those games. It wasn't, LSU put a stop to it completely and shut down. No, Trevor Lawrence still made some plays here or there, but LSU still ate up the clock and would not go away. And the thing is that I like to say this, it's if you're up in a game, any sport really, and how do I want to put this? If you're trying to come back and you keep going and going, let's say it's like a 35-17 deficit at halftime of a football game. Yep. All right, you're getting the ball to start the third quarter. You're down by 18, 35-17, and you go down and score. This is going to work out for you if you can make sure the other team's offense can go away. And that's just what happened in that game that Clemson lost.
Yeah, they couldn't go away.
Right.
But the other side of this is I don't feel like I love Trevor. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
I think Trevor's a great quarterback.
Yes.
However, I don't think he had what Deshaun Watson had.
Like poise type,
he'd grit down, and he'd will. He just would will the team to win. It was something about Deshaun in his leadership and the way he just guys, we're going to win this, MF game. And he was that way. And I don't think Trevor was that passionate or that angry.
Trevor, yeah, like you have guys out there like Trevor. You have Deshaun Watson like, let's go out on this field. Let's win it, boys.
Yeah.
This is our time. We got this. And Trevor's like, hey, let's just go do what we do. Like he's calling. There's no like you see passion for the game, but you don't see a fired up leader. No offense to Trevor. He's a leader, but he's not like I don't think he has like a team motivational type of thing in him. Nothing wrong with it, but
I know.
Man, when you have that in you, it just makes you.
But
it should fuel you and make you a little bit better, I think.
So the thing that really told me what makes him tick when he got hit in that Ohio State, the first Ohio.
Oh,
State
that was rough.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he got up and he was madder than a wet hornet.
Yeah.
That is what got him going. He needed to get his ass hit in that LSU game like that, but he didn't. And he just sort of walked through, routine. And he probably thought, well, I'm doing the right thing by being level-headed. At some point, you need to lose your damn mind.
Right. And go crazy with it.
Yeah, I'm done with this shit. And he didn't. Yeah. That switch never flipped. Now, the thing about DJ, that switch will flip. Probably too much. So watch DJ.
Oh, no. Yeah.
I've
seen his high school highlights, and man, he's a good runner.
Oh yeah, he'll get mad, and he won't take no for an answer. He's like, get over here, you get your freaking job, and he'll tell the lineman, get blocked, damn you. I mean, he'll get
right.
So it'll be good. I mean, I think he's just a different style quarterback, and I think the players will appreciate the take command, the quit whining, let's go, attitude. He's gonna be all over them. And Georgia doesn't understand that. That's what I told him. The upside for DJ over TL is higher. He's got a better ceiling. Now,
well, remind me again real quick. What was the score of this year's Clemson spring game? It was really low, wasn't it?
It was. It was 20-something to 20 to 17 or something like that. It was.
Yeah,
low.
Bama's was like. I think it was 13-10, and the white team won. I was asking. I thought it was a little bit lower than that. I was going to say, like, was that a factor of, like, DJ, or was it just a factor of just how good the defense is going to be? But I feel like, I think – so for Bama, I think it's more defensive-led, even though I think Bryce Young's going to ball out, and at least halfway through this season is going to be the Bryce Young that we expected him to be coming out of high school. But I think – especially last year. Now, it sucks the way that it happened because of the positive COVID test that Trevor had. But for DJ to start against, like, that Notre Dame game was incredible last year. Even though you guys lost, you have to admit that double overtime was great. Yeah. And for DJ as a freshman to go out there and do what he did, I think the fact that he got time like that last year is probably what's going to help him a little bit more, and why people are so high on him right now. And people are high on Bryce Young too, but I mean, it's not like from a national standpoint, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is a kid in high school, but then when you look at DJ, it's like, yeah, this is a guy like last year. Yeah. This is what he did with the team. We know what he can already do with the team. Bryce Young still has to go out and try to prove something for Bama.
In a game.
I think I got off track. I forgot what point I was trying to make, but you get what I'm saying there.
Here's the thing with DJ, and this is why I try to explain this to Georgia fans, and I don't necessarily believe that DJ is the second coming of Christ or anything,
right?
But he doesn't wilt under pressure. He has he's got ice water in his veins. He really does. He's an assassin, and he's determined. He's a real determined guy. I much more so than TL. Not as good as probably Deshaun yet. I'm not going to say that because Deshaun was he was determined,
passionate, for sure.
he would, if he had to, he'd slit a goat's throat. But no, I mean, but DJ's that good, and the Notre Dame game wasn't his fault. He couldn't play defense too, and he couldn't block for the run game to get the 2 yards to win that game in regulation. It wasn't his fault. He held them in that game. He kept them alive, almost single-handedly, sadly. Him and ETN.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to. I mean, I know a lot of people. J Dub, I know you're quiet. You're probably in there working like a fiend on these.
I'm sure
photos.
he's been listening.
I know he has. He's just working.
Yeah.
He's a working fiend.
I've
We'll see
been
what
listening the
Travis-
whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know, you can jump in anytime, J Dub.
I've been listening the whole time. I've just been working on a couple of.
Yep.
I've got some seniors, high school seniors. I took some senior portfolio photos over the weekend, so I got been kind of putting them together while we're going. But I've been listening to everything you guys have been saying.
Well, you keep working. I don't want to interrupt that, but I just anytime you think that we're, the moment you hear bullshit, you just say bullshit.
Oh, if I'd heard something outrageous, if I would have heard something outrageous, I would have certainly chimed in.
No, I just respect all these teams that are doing the right. They're doing the right thing and trying to get the teams developed right and coach them up.
Yep.
Even Ohio State, I don't have anything against them, but man. No. But Traveling Fools is in here, and we did talk about Miami.
So
and,
Jerry traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. and how thankfully they may be closer to being back than almost any of the other ACC teams. North Carolina, Miami, that game will be.
That's important this year.
Yes,
I think that's definitely, even if now that's like middle of the season.
Okay.
But let's say both of them are not having the years we expected them to have. They've taken a couple losses, games they're not supposed to lose outside of like the Bama Miami game.
Pitt.
Let's say they're just having that year. It's still, you shouldn't sleep on them as programs. You look at them and say, well, head to head, what do they do? But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think let me pull up Miami's schedule real quick.
Well, think about it. If that happens, then somebody else is going to probably ascend into the ACC championship. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just what if it for a minute. Who else would that be? And I think it could be Pitt or Virginia that could ascend into that situation. Virginia Tech, if anybody tries to go down that road with me after all the nonsense I've seen with them, I'm going to laugh. I don't know what else to tell you because I don't believe in it. But Virginia could, Pitt could, but it looks to me like a Miami, North Carolina race to the finish. And then whoever gets that ACC game, it won't be another cakewalk for Clemson.
Right. Look at this is Miami's schedule. They literally could be on either undefeated, and again, depending on what happens with Alabama, either undefeated or one-loss team, and they're lucky they get a bye week before that North Carolina.
Undefeated in the conference. Undefeated in the conference. Yes, sir. And everywhere else. Just one loss. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I expect Manny to get it done this year. Hurricane T2Y does too. He's just like he and I were. He's 18.5 point spread for Alabama over Miami, and one of the Florida State guys says that's just disrespectful,
right?
Which it is, but I told him
so But now I'm looking at North Carolina, which I think I've already done both of these teams in my schedule previews. North Carolina. And I don't always know the schedules off the top of my head, so I always go back and look. But now that I'm looking back at it, and I think I did their preview like 2 weeks ago anyway. But they have it a lot tougher than Miami because look at this: they have to play teams like we talked a little bit about Florida State earlier.
Yeah.
They have Virginia Tech and Blacksburg to open up, and I'm at least going to leave it to Virginia Tech and Florida State. And I only bring out Virginia Tech. Blacksburg's pretty tough, and that's a night game on a Friday night. It's easier for Miami. Even though they got Bama outside of the Bama game, I'll put that to the side. Outside of that, it's a little easier for I don't know. I mean, Michigan State. They have.
No. Stop. No, I'm gonna call you on that. Michigan State
Okay.
ain't Jack Diddley, man.
All right.
They're indeed. You think Michigan's bad? Holy moly!
That's fair. I only pointed out because it is
It's a big
cross conference Power
Yeah.
5 game. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I mean, either way, these teams prior to meeting up with each other, they do have some roadblocks that could slip them up a little bit. And, you know, I still think either way, that game will be one to circle on the calendar, Miami and North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, I do think it's in Chapel Hill. I think what we saw.
Yep.
Yeah. At
That's
North
going to be
Carolina.
tough. That's going to be a tough game. But
Yeah.
if anybody can go to an offsite or go to the opponent's field and win, I think Miami's one of them. There are a handful that do that well. I think Alabama does it well. I think it's just I don't know why. I think it still bleeds Miami,
Right.
no matter what. The years gone by and people there, they don't ever doubt themselves, and that's confidence, and that's what you need when you go into the Lions Den and play the game. And hey, never. I love. What was it? Somebody. I think it was Jordan. He said, "Oh, I love going to an opposing arena because they just feed off the negative energy."
Yeah, man. I got you.
It's the way to go. I mean, they don't care. That's kind of like their thing. But yeah, what was it? Hurricane TTY said the other day, he goes to the Florida State fans that were in the chat or on the stream. He says, "Yeah, they were talking about the turnover chain." He says, "Yeah, you know the details on every one of those turnover chains, don't you, Florida State? Because you got them, you got every one of them."
What's up, Celine Driver? This is a public stream. We got J-Dub and we got Upper Billy Paul in here, man.
We don't do that.
No, we're not talking smack about really anybody. We've been going on about like the ACC and all that for a while. I mean, it's this is going to be a good year for football, and it was interesting to see conference only last year. I mean, that was interesting, but let's be honest, we all miss the non-conference games, and especially with Week 1 with Georgia and Clemson, and then Bama, Miami. It's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Hey, what do you think? What do you think about Lane and Leach? In terms of
in the Egg Bowl matchup.
Well, not just the Egg Bowl. I'm talking about Lane and Leach in the SEC now and starting to change the ecosystem a bit, right?
Well, obviously Lane Kiffin has a lot of history with that. Mm-hmm. Mike Leach was pretty good at Washington State. He wasn't too bad. I do like the hire. I don't like where it's at with Mississippi State right now. I do think he needs to get working on recruiting in the state of Mississippi and just building the program. If you're asking me though, like which team has a better chance of winning the SEC or the West before the
Ole Miss?
Team? Yeah, Ole Miss by a long shot.
Yeah.
But
he started.
I'm not sleeping on Mike Leach. I'm giving him a chance. I'm looking at him and I'm saying if he could just get clicking as fast as possible, he could be back to competing with some teams and just competing in the SEC. Now, competing and winning, two completely different things, but at the very least, Mississippi State just needs to get to a point where they're competitive again, and they can say, you know what, we can challenge Auburn, we can challenge Bama, even challenge Bama a little bit. I mean, there were a couple years ago, Jalen Hurts had to run a touchdown in against them. You talk about competitive, man. I mean, get back to that, Mississippi State. I think Ole Miss kind of showed it last year, but. Dude, the Egg Bowl itself is a big rivalry. It's already big, but with these coaches, it's just going to be great from here on out until one of those guys.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I look back because I remember watching Leach at Texas Tech, and then he went to Washington State and he repeats, right? He repeats his offense, right?
Yeah.
And so he has a system too. And I look at him like a Lincoln Riley. If he gets him a defensive coordinator And same thing with Lane. I look at those three guys almost like the three musketeers of offense, right?
There you go.
So I just say, oh my God, if they get this thing rolling, it's gonna make some heads spin in the SEC. LSU's
For
gonna be
sure.
going, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Florida, they're gonna be like, what? These guys are gonna be like crazy. I love it because he's colorful too. Leach is colorful. And by that I mean in his press conferences and in the way he handles things. He's just a no bullshit guy. He just likes to go off tangent. I like people like that. I like coaches like that. I always have. I like Bobby Knight. I know Bobby Knight can be an asshole, but Bobby Knight was a damn funny, colorful dude. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So Salim wants us to hate. Well, it won't be a Yawn Fest for long, Salim. Florida's going to be wishing that they had one of those coaches at the helm of their program here shortly.
It will be, we were talking Florida State earlier. I do like Milton. I like the Norvell hire. But, it's just going to be great to get all of the out-of-conference rivalries back. And quite honestly, believe it or not, I do think that Florida State game could be pretty interesting come November because Florida's taking a step back. FSU's supposed to take a small step forward. And who knows what those teams are? They're not going to be at the top of their conference or nothing.
No, but it's bragging rights.
Right, bragging rights. And they both could be like middle of the line, like Florida State's middle of the line ACC. Florida takes a fall a little bit, middle of the line SEC. It'll be a good rivalry game for those two teams in November.
It's going to be closer than either team would like it. Well, especially Florida, because Florida's on their ass for a while. But certainly it's going to be closer than either team likes, but Florida mostly. And Salim just, braced for that. I don't know what it is you take to give yourself the nerve calming agent you need. Mine happens to be beer, but for the most part, when Clemson plays, man, I swear to you, it's either an anxiety pill or beer. One of the two. I cannot sit in the game and not have something because it does stress me. But that FSU game is going to be something for Florida.
And if anyone's wondering too, I'm actually just finding this out. They don't always call it this, but on occasion, if it does have a traditional name, they call it the Sunshine Showdown. I don't know if anyone knew that.
I didn't.
That's interesting, though. I mean, the Sunshine State.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think for the rivalry itself, though, I don't know who would need the win this year more. I mean, because Florida did win in 18 and 19. I think, obviously, they probably would have won that game if we had it last year. Florida State, though, before 2018, they won the last, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, last five. And I don't know. Honestly, though, you would think program-wise, because of what we've seen in recent years, I think Florida State would need this game more this year.
Yeah. They're going to put up
too.
Yeah, they're going to put every inch and ounce into it. They just are.
For sure.
Because it actually is going to come down to showing for Norvell that they're on the move, right? And that would be a signature win for them. So and they got Florida at a little bit of a downtime. So yeah, they're gonna go all out. Now, they should. I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do.
Right.
So he's Salim. I know you're in the comments. Who would you want? Let's just assume that Mullen does decide to go to the NFL for some reason. Who would you want to take over, or who would you like to see come to Florida? You said you don't want Bigfoot or Kiffin. Who would you want? Now, I'm just curious because I haven't. I mean, I haven't thought. I think about it once every blue moon on some of these schools. Like I was just saying before you got in, Celine, if Gus Malzahn at Central Florida proves himself, resurrects himself, as I like to say.
He could be the best coach in the state in a couple years for all we.
Would you want him to show up there or not?
But it not only falls on what he does with the program, but I mean, what's it going to look like? Like, is there going to be decline for Dan Mullen in a few years? And also, is Mike Norvell, who we're hyping up, is he not going to hit what we're expecting him to hit? Yeah.
So
Just
any
saying.
one of those could be Gus Malzahn candidates, but I don't think that Florida. Hopefully, I mean, I actually don't think Mullen's a bad coach. I just think he's goofy. But then again, I've got Dabo, so talk about goofy. He can be goofy at times. But that being said, I just don't know that Mullen's going to stay. If what people are rumoring, he wants to go to the NFL, he's would rather be there. I wonder if he'll be there 2 years. And so that's my only reason why I look at Florida a little bit higher or a little bit closer in on a change than Florida State, because they're going to give Norvell plenty of time because they've changed coaches way too many times lately. And they're just going to eat whatever they got to eat for a couple more years, 3 years, 4 years. But Florida, if Mullen does jump, and they got to make a move. And who would it be?
Right.
So Celine, I was asking, who would you want? I know you had to go to the kitchen. So who would you want if Mullen decides to take a leap to the NFL to come in at Florida? And I suggested it might be Gus Malzahn if he proves himself at Central Florida. But I don't know how you feel about that. But anybody, who would interest you there? That's really what I was asking. I'm just curious. Ain't a right or wrong answer. Well, wait, listen, man. We're talking regular football. We're not talking our own teams. That's why we care about Florida. And you're in here, so that's why.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Auburn. We've been talking about.
We have covered practically the Power Five within an hour.
Exactly.
I mean, this is great. I'm looking forward to. I don't know how much like SEC Network you watch, but I am looking forward to tonight.
Oh, I'm watching it all night tonight.
40 minutes. Alabama's documentary, The Ultimate Team, is airing, and it's a documentary based on the team last season. And I know a lot of people, if you're not a Bama fan, you hate to see them win. But can we give credit to what they did last year? And Nick Saban has never talked about a team like he did last year's team. Just talking about the togetherness and how everyone came together in the pandemic. You got to give us props, right?
Yeah, they did good, and they basically it was a family, and that's part of what makes a good team. You almost feel like it's your cousins, your brothers.
Yeah,
we're out there together, and you don't necessarily always succeed, but you got them. You got their back regardless, and
right.
That's what makes it good when you get that. That chemistry is an intangible for a championship team. It really is. But I still remember when 2018 and we were coming in that game, and all I heard everybody, best team ever from Bama, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
the problem was the narrative was that they were unbeatable, and it got to their heads.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want that going into a game.
Oh, we can't lose. We can't lose.
Beatable. In the championship, everybody's beatable.
I like when our buddy Pigskin Pete made a video and made a point about it during that 2018 season, and he went back, and I'm going to bring this up. I think a lot of people need to remember when the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots in, was it 2007 or 2008?
Oh, yeah.
Tom Brady. Holy crap. I mean, God forbid Tom Brady shows up undefeated with Randy Moss, and they go in there. They got smacked. Yeah. Giants shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They made it in, and they just ran the table a bit. They got there, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm taking the Patriots. They've had it all year long. They're destined for this. Bama was destined in 2018, and then Clemson's like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm here. I mean, this you got to be careful. And I even said this all last year. I said, look, I get Alabama's great. I understand what y'all are saying. Devontae Smith and Mac Jones and Waddle prior to injury, of course. I mean, I kept saying, do not be putting out this narrative. I hope they don't put the narrative out that this team is unstoppable, which quite honestly, yeah, it pretty much was. I mean, we had some close games like that first half against Georgia, or of course the Florida game. But just don't. If I hope that they drown out the media and they don't let it get to their heads, and they didn't, and credit to them.
Yeah, about as you think about it, Saban keeps saying it, and he makes a good point. It's rat poison.
There we go, right here. Yeah,
it is rat poison.
It's like that stuff you say. It's like poison.
Yeah.
I love that rant too. It's rat poison. Don't listen to the media. That's it.
Yes.
I don't want to get political, but I mean, I think we've been hearing that the past few years, right?
Yes, not only that, it's not just political. It's
right.
It's
everywhere.
Yeah, people say shit, and it just feeds.
Yeah.
It feeds your. It's really.
It gets you emotionally and messes you up in the head a little bit if you give into it.
Yep.
And I'm just glad that Bama didn't do that last year, and Saban had it right.
Yep. It's evil. It's an evil. It's insidiously evil. When somebody's trying to compliment you or tell you all this, and then they got the knife right in your back.
Right.
It's you got to be careful now.
You do.
That's why Saban is who Saban is. He's been there and he's done that enough. He's like, I ain't buying that shit. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Makes them really good. That's part of it. So Travis,
one of
what's he saying?
one of the geniuses of Satan of Saban is that
you called him Satan? Oh my god! I know you messed up.
Saban has been able to convince each group of players that they're a whole new team.
Yeah. Even if he's got everyone coming back,
but
right?
It's not a convince. Right. It's the truth, actually.
Right.
You're always going to have new talent.
Yeah.
He was able to convince the 12 team, even though that was largely composed of guys who had won it in 11.
Yeah.
That they were now a new group.
Karen and Lexi and all them.
Right. Yeah. That they were now a new group. That their national championship ring said 2011 on it. And so if they wanted another one, they weren't going to get 2011 part 2. It was going to be 2012.
Yeah.
So we've got to start all over, do it all over again. Except now you know how to do it.
Right. It's like act like we don't know how to do it. We're learning how to do it, and then do it. It's like don't get cocky and be like, yeah, we can do this and all. Like starts he tells these teams basically one game at a time. Don't overlook it. Take small steps. It's this. Nobody.
It's one of the great things that Matt Campbell's doing up here in Ames.
Yeah.
He mentioned it during the Big 12 media days. He says, "Is we're just now figuring out how to do this. We're learning how to do it, and so we got to get the guys bought into it.
Yeah.
That
First time
when we said do this, look, it worked.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, and you have to. I mean, it's a cliche, but you have to learn how to win.
Yeah, I do think that it's a condition that you're not born. You're born with the passion to win. You're not born with the knowledge of how to win.
Right.
And
big difference.
There's a huge difference, and nobody is. So it takes some credit, from people that are been there, done that, and have learned some things and teaching you, and that's what Matt's doing, and it's what good coaches do down the line. I get a little. I get a little emotional when I think about it, but sometimes it's just because it seems like a cliche, it isn't a cliche. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a cliche for a reason because it works, you know?
Yeah.
And that makes me a little mad when people go, oh, that's just a cliche. No, it's because it freaking is the truth. I don't know what else to tell you. Truths become cliches, unfortunately. But China, I'm asking Celine because I know he's going back and forth and putting this kind of in the background. But I would love to hear his thoughts on, because I do think Mullen's going to leave. I don't think he's going to be there much longer. I really don't. And,
do you think? Hold on. Do you think he leaves to go somewhere, or do you think they fire him and he has a downfall?
No, I don't think they fire him. First of all, he's not a horrible coach. So
no, not at all.
He's just quirky. But at the same time, I just think he doesn't enjoy this grind anymore, and it's just because I'm hearing reports, and sometimes the way his body language is, it seems like he's just not happy, right?
Right.
So if he leaves, who's going to replace him, or who would be good candidates? And I suggested Fickle and China, but that's just joking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
don't know either. I gotta head out, but Hufflebilly, it was really great talking with you, man. And Jeff, you as always.
Y'all be good.
Yep.
Don't get in trouble.
I'm gonna try not to, man. Y'all have a good one. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Later.
All right, roll tide.
Yep, roll tide. All right, appreciate y'all for coming on. Love all of you guys. Jesus loves you. You guys got to remember that, man. It's good conversation. It was good to just talk some football for an hour or so. I appreciate it. And y'all know what to do. Like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. Check out the website, ballardsports19.wixsite.com. And if you ever have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at Ballard Sports or email me, ballardsports19@gmail.com. Love you guys. Jesus loves you. Keep your head up. God bless. Roll Tide roll. Woo!
Maybe we'll try to hire your ass.
Okay. Roll down Tide.